Manhattan Bank has been serving the Gallatin Valley since 1905. Started by local farmers in order to help grow the agriculture industry, Manhattan Bank has since grown into a full-service bank serving the entire valley. With branches in Manhattan, Churchill, Three Forks, and Bozeman, you're never far from your local bank.
As banks are consolidating and changing, Manhattan Bank sets themselves apart through consistency and a small-town banking feel. Come see why we have been in the Valley for well over 100 years. Stop by the new building in Bozeman, see Justin Skillman and Tyler Dosher for your business banking, and Brad Whitmer for your home loans. Go Cats.
Member FDIC.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Catcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. He's your bearded host, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R Catcast, the Montana State affiliate of the fledgling Big Sky Podcast Network. And we have a awesome sponsor in Manhattan Bank. 4 locations, Bozeman, Churchill, Manhattan, and Three Forks. Justin Company came on this year, reached out to us, and we were just tickled pink to be sponsored by those guys. They seem like really cool guys, taking care of all your banking needs in the Gallatin County. Thorny, we're back, buddy. It's football time again.
We're back.
How are you doing?
We're back. Yeah, I'm doing good. Trying this again here. We had a little bit of issues getting this together. Life gets in the way sometimes. Happy Halloween, everyone out there. This is a Halloween. We're recording this. And Foley, man, you and I need to pour one out for our NFL teams, our poor Super Bowl contending teams. Last year, Super Bowl, the 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl. I can't think of a better way to say that, goodness. But apparently we're both not going back to the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm not going to say that yet.
You have a better chance.
Yes,
the Rams are done. The Rams are done.
As I sit here with my Joe Burrow jersey, just watching the Bengals get waxed by, again, the Cleveland Browns. It's been kind of Joe Burrow's nemesis over there. I mean, he has a stellar record against the Steelers, but the Browns just have his number. Anyways, let's not talk about the Bengals, but Houday, have a good one.
Hey, I'm feeling the same way. The Rams lost, I think, the 8th straight regular season loss to the Niners. So the nemesis of the Rams.
Yeah.
Happens, man.
Seems like the Browns play like world beaters against us for some reason. They just love it. I knew it was going to be like, and here I am talking about it. I knew it was going to be a weird game on Monday night in Cleveland on Halloween. I was like, yeah, something's going to happen.
All that orange and black and brown. Come on, that's too much Halloween.
It was just terrible.
I'm sorry, man.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, listener. We are 2 fans. We're 2 dads just podcasting about our dear Montana State. So thanks for joining us on this ride that we call the R&R, this epic ride that we do each week. A little bit about the show today. We don't have a game that happened because we just got off the bye. So we'll skip that large chunk, which will probably not shorten this. Let's be honest. We will end up talking just probably the same length as we always do. But we got the FCS stats poll and the Big Sky Power Rankings poll that we'll talk about. We're going to talk about Coach Vigen's presser. He came out today looking dapper as always. He has that little gel in his hair. I'm not a big fan of the little spiky bangs he does.
No, it's like the same like the 1950s haircut that people have been rocking forever. Like that's the same situation.
That doesn't bother me. It's his bangs. He like fluffs his bangs and he got like little horns in front. Anyways, Coach Vigen, if you listen to this, we love you. But God, change that little do in the front, man. Just wear a ball cap or something.
I'm okay with it. All right.
He wears his suits every presser, and which is impressive, but you don't need to do that for me anymore. You could just wear a hoodie. I'd be fine with it. All right. Anyways, we're going to talk about his press conference, not necessarily what he's wearing, but his words and what he said about things like injuries and what they've been working on. he did cover some of that today. We'll go around the big sky. This is going to be a segment that we bring in from our typical night show that we do, their instant reaction show. We want to talk a little bit, honestly, about the Grizzlies. Well, at least I do. So I don't know what Ryan wants to talk about, but we'll cover the games that went around the big sky during our bye week and kind of a little bit, maybe some playoff pictures in there. Some scenario stuff. We might save some of that too, but we'll see where we get. But the lion's share of the show should be on Golden Coolie questions because we got a buttload of Golden Coolie questions. And that's just fine by us because that means you fans are submitting some good stuff out there. You're listening, you're engaging with us, and that's all we can ask for, really. And maybe, just maybe, we might touch on NAU. There is a good chance we probably won't, but there might be. And if not, we will put out a second episode later on this week just for you guys.
Yeah, I put that low on the probability list as it's already 9:40 right now. So we'll see. If we blow through the Golden Coolie questions, we blow through the stats polls and all that. But I don't see that happening because you and I are long-winded.
We kind of are sometimes.
Yeah, that's okay.
Although on our instant reaction shows, we keep it really close, man. It is like short. It's something weird. I can't figure it out.
That's because we don't have a real discussion. We both just kind of bark talking points at each other and just plow through it.
Yeah.
It works.
It works. Okay. Before we do that, we got to talk about what's in our Golden Coolies.
What's in your Golden Coolie?
Yeah, sucker.
Sucker. Nice. Man, I haven't had a chance to go get beer in a while. I'm still drinking Michelob Ultra. It's not even my secondary beer today. It is my primary beer. It's what it's in. It's not even my Golden Coolie because I've mentioned many times before, the skinny can doesn't work in the Golden Coolie. It's like a huge jacket on a tiny little skinny guy. It doesn't work. So just a naked can over here, like some sort of Neanderthal.
Oh,
but
I just kind of feel bad for you, man.
I'm drinking beer,
Yesterday,
talking football with my buddy. I'm doing all right.
Okay. Good perspective. I have Modelo.
Ooh.
Especial. So, yes, I picked up a 12er of that kind of expensive 12-pack Modelo. Not way more expensive than a 12-pack of Rainier.
Everything's expensive, but yeah.
Not going to lie. All right. Well, my Modelo does fit in my Golden Coolie. My Golden Coolie's got a lot of good stains on it right now. It's been loved. All right.
All of
here
mine.
we go.
I have multiple.
Let's get into. Yeah, I know, right? They've been loved. Okay. Let's get into the FCS stats, the statistics, the rankings that I always screw up the way I talk about them that came out today. South Dakota State's holding number 1. Sacramento State's holding number 2.
With the first place
Montana
vote.
State's they got one first place vote. Montana State's still at number 3. North Dakota State's still at number 4. Weber State is tied for 5th with Holy Cross. Current Words number 7. William and Mary's number 8. Jackson State, who doesn't really play in the FCS playoffs, they're number 9. They're 8-0. That's Neon Dion's team right there. Deion Sanders. I called him Neon Dion. There it is.
You're dating yourself, but I know what you meant.
Yep. Down number 15 is Idaho, just below Richmond, the Spiders. Man, could you imagine being a fan of the Spiders? You would have to wear spider gear. I don't know if I could do it, dude.
I'm okay with that.
Anyways, yeah. And Montana slides down to number 16. They were at 11. They just keep creeping down. Someone texted us today or something about like Montana's 5-3. I can't believe they're still in the playoffs or in the top 25.
Yes. Yeah, Tyler Irwin on Twitter tagged us. He's like, Montana currently sits at 5-3. The 5 wins come against opponents that have a combined 10-30 record. Yet they're still ranked in the top 25. Tagged us. Tagged Barstool Bobcats. Was like, the people want us to talk about the Grizz fully.
Well, I'll just say, we will, but I'll just say that they should be ranked in the top 25. They're a top 25 team. Yeah, they were once the number 2 team in the nation. So I get what he's saying, but
Yeah. I
they
mean,
still deserve it, man.
I love watching the Grizz as much as the next guy. Watching them lose. Did I say that? I don't think I said that. I love watching the Grizz lose as much as the next guy. It brings me joy every single time. But objectively, they're still a top 25 team. I mean, you can't bump them out of the top 25. And honestly, if you sat down and compared the top 10 teams and their wins, like it happens every year. Teams that go like 10-1, oftentimes those 10 wins are against teams that don't have a winning record. It just that's typically what happens. The teams consolidate wins, and then there's a bunch of teams that lose, and that's just kind of how it goes. So I know what you're getting at, buddy. And I'm taking immense pleasure in the Grizz losing these games, but they should absolutely be in the top 25. They're still a solid football team because it gets real squirrely down the end of the top 25 in terms of quality FCS teams.
I would say maybe the Grizz were probably still a top 10 team in my book, maybe just outside of it. I mean, it'd be easy to heap on them right now, but the matter of the fact is they've lost to Idaho, which is probably a top 10 team as well. They lost to Sacramento State on the road, and they lost to Weber State as well on the road. As we all are going to talk about next year, the 2023 schedule for the Bobcats is just brutal. So we will have games just like that. Hopefully we'll be on the winning side. However, I'm just trying to make a point that Montana has lost against Sac State, Weber. What was it, like 5 points or something like that they've lost combined?
I don't know, something
with some
like
backup
that.
quarterback player.
It's got to be single digits, like 9 total at most. But
they could they're very well could be in the same boat we are in. They're really close to being in the same boat we are in right now.
I don't see any other teams in the top 25 that have 3 straight losses, though.
You're not wrong.
At some point, you got to win a game.
Yeah. No, they definitely have some deficits, and I'm not saying they don't. We'll get into that here in a moment. Thorny, let's talk about the Big Sky power ranking poll.
This is where I could go a little bit harsh on the Grizz. Why don't you take it? But I think we voted exactly the same.
What I did, I wrote mine with crayon on a napkin, and I sent it to you in a picture.
Oh, is that what that was? I
didn't write it down anywhere else.
I thought you texted me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was.
Because you texted me a little bit earlier about it. So anyway.
So I kept the Hornets at number 1 because I still think they are number 1, but they're hanging on by a thread. I still think their defense is suspect.
Agreed.
MSU is number 2.
Also suspect.
Weber State. Yep. Weber State is number 3. I don't think Weber's offense is as good as I thought it was. So, yeah. Idaho, number 4. Idaho could be number 1, honestly. They are an impressive group, probably all around. Like, they don't show a lot of deficiencies. I put UC Davis. UC Davis is riding hot right now. They are just blazing. They're putting up almost like 700 yards of offense in back-to-back weeks. It's just unreal what they've been doing. But they have some big games coming up. Yep. We'll see what happens with those Aggies. Then I have U of M in number 6. And then right there afterward, I have a layer of teams. PSU and Eastern Washington, I feel like are in the same stratosphere. And then I got NAU, Idaho State, Cal Poly, Northern Colorado.
So I think I had it exactly the same as you. Maybe at the bottom, I may have put Idaho State last and Northern Colorado before that, based solely on the fact that Northern Colorado beat Idaho State at one point. Like, it doesn't matter. Those last 3 teams are in a stratosphere of their own. It's Cal Poly, Idaho State, and Northern Colorado absolutely just fighting for that gutter spot. Then there's kind of like NAU in there. Yeah, and then you got like the Portland State and the Eastern Washington, which was a pretty crazy game against those two, against each other. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And yeah, I had the same way. I put UC Davis above the Grizz because I think right now, if the Grizz and the UC Davis played on a neutral field, I might pick Davis to win that game. That's kind of always my when I'm choosing between two teams in a spot, who do I think will win on a neutral field between those two teams? I think UC Davis with the way they're playing, and the Grizz are just kind of flailing right now, hanging on by a thread. So I would pick probably Davis in a game like that. So therefore, Davis, my 5th ranked team, and the Grizz dropped down to number 6 in my poll.
Given that thought, who would you pick to win on a neutral field between Eastern and Northern Arizona?
That's a good question. Probably Northern Arizona at this point. I'm off the Eastern train, man. They're playing.
Me too.
They're playing terrible, and they've clearly just kind of given up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And in that regard, maybe I should put NAU above Eastern Washington, I suppose. But they weren't. I didn't have them in the same right next to each other. It came out. I'll just do the top 6 here because that's kind of the people are interested in. Sac State number 1, Montana State number 2, Weber State number 3, Idaho number 4, Montana number 5, and UC Davis number 6. So people are still putting the Grizz up above UC Davis, which I'm okay with. But I know you and I both voted the other way around. But people still thinking the Grizz are the top 5 squad.
I started a thread on Bobcat Nation about the power rankings, and it's gotten some good play, some good traction, some good comments on there. And it's good to see Wildcat, one of the Weber faithful that posts on the board, taking some stances on there as well. I'm not sold Montana State as number 1. Some guys are putting Montana State as number 1. I don't know. It's tough. There's not a clear team that stands out to me as number 1.
No, I thought it was Sac State about 3 weeks ago. I thought they were kind of in a class of their own, but then they played the Grizz in Idaho. And yes, they won those games, but they escaped narrowly in both those games, had to kind of come back at the very last second against Idaho. Again, we'll talk about that. But yeah, I think every team that's played the other power teams has just squeaked by. I mean, you look at it, like every single top 5 team that played in our team has barely beaten that team. So I think all 5 or 6 teams right now are pretty similar.
Well, before we get into the presser, let's go right into the around the Big Sky, because I think this would parlay right into that perfectly. All right.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to save the Grizz for last? Because I think we'll do the most talking about that probably.
Yeah, I think that's fine by me. There we go. All right. Do you ever click on the ESPN links and then the ads start playing and then you can't hear anything because like the movie ads are playing on the side?
Yeah, you have to go in your settings and like figure out how to auto mute it. It's in there somewhere. I had to learn this the hard way.
Every time.
It snuck into, I think it was last year on the podcast, it snuck into some of the recordings because it would start playing. It goes through my microphone onto my recording, so I can't like parse it out. It's embedded into my audio, so I had to just leave it in there last year. Right? So there's a couple times where we're talking, you hear like Scott Van Pelt talking or something.
Okay,
getting sued by ESPN.
All right, let's see. Oh, this is week 9, so I need to go back, or week 10.
All right, well, I'm going to start while you look around there. Portland State. I'll start there. Portland State takes down Eastern Washington 38-35 in just a weird game. I think it was 35-0 at one point for Portland State. And Eastern Washington, I think, scored a touchdown at the end of the first half, 35-7. And then Eastern comes storming back in the fourth quarter, mainly 21 points in the fourth quarter. But Portland State at some point kicks a field goal in the fourth to win 38-35 in Cheney. So, man, the Eagles are they're done. They are done this year. They have given up. It's a rebuilding year. They got some young talent. This is not the Eagles' year. But holy cow, man! I don't think I would have seen the day where Eastern is going to have a losing record, their first one since like 2006 or something like that.
Yeah, I watched that game. It was really entertaining. There's tons of offense. Yeah, Talkington almost passed for 400 yards, just six yards shy of that.
36.
They came storming back. Yeah, they scored 21 points in the fourth quarter, man. It was insane. Portland State was just like clenching, like, hold on. And then Eastern was just riding momentum. I kind of feel bad for Eastern, but I really don't.
Yeah, I don't feel bad.
And Portland State and Eastern, they feel like they belong together, don't they?
All year long, I've been kind of like just figuring out which one to put above the other in the power rankings because they're right in that same mold. I kept thinking Eastern's got to be better than Portland State, don't they? But Eastern just keeps proving me that they're not. And then this game, they played each other in Cheney, and Portland State won. So clearly, Portland State at the moment is a better team. But yeah, they're kind of in the same class, as you can evidence by the 3-point differential there.
Now, if we could only get Eastern to not kick our butts in basketball in Cheney.
There we go. Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, there's something we can look forward to. Okay. All right, I'll take the next one. Cal Poly went in defeat to UC Davis, who, like I said, UC Davis is just a rocket right now. Davis beat them 59-17. The box score on this is just insane. I texted you a picture of this the other day. Let's see here, right here. Davis had 682 yards of offense. They had 688 yards of offense the week before. They passed for 425 yards, and they rushed for 257. I don't know. Cal Poly's awful. They're 1-7, 0-5 in conference, but they're going to beat the Grizz this week, right?
That's right. Go Mustangs.
That would be
Mustangs up.
Amazing. Davis, though. So a little bit about Davis real quick. They're like a really interesting team to me. Like, they had a really tough beginning of the year. Arguably, Montana State played their most complete game against Davis. And that's when I think the Bobcats, you get sneak previews of when we put it all together, how dangerous Montana State can be. Sam Houston State, UC Davis, those type of games when you watch Montana State just plow and just like dominate, you're like, holy cow. Can we put it together towards the end? Anyways, that's a different conversation. Davis has Idaho State coming up. I totally think they're going to just roll Idaho State. They should. And then they play at Idaho, at Sac State. So we will know in short order if Davis is for real. I'm going to be rooting for Davis against the Vandals, straight up. I'm not a Vandal fan. Like, I don't care for Idaho. I get that they have good fans and whatnot. I'm not a big Idaho fan.
Hey, I was on the Davis train here a few weeks ago when I started to piece it together. Like, Davis could potentially win out. And if they do so, and the Cats win out, the Cats are outright champs. So I started thinking this through. I'm like, Davis is going to be, they're going to be, so they're 4-4. They're going to be 5-4 heading into those last two games against Idaho and Sac. I mean, they could make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I just did the math. They've outscored their last three opponents since they played the Bobcats. Well, they haven't outscored. They've scored 173 points in 3 games. It's like an average of 58 points a game. And their opponents have scored a total of 37, 40, 54 points. So 173 to 54, they've outscored their last 3 opponents. I mean, they got some guys back they didn't have against the Bobcats. They're kind of getting a little bit healthy. They're figuring it out a little bit. I mean, they could go on a tear here then. Obviously, they are on a tear right now.
Yeah, they are. Alonzo Gilliam is just having himself a year. Just out of the backfield, just not only carrying the ball, but receiving the ball as well. Amazing stuff. Miles Hastings is having a good year. He's almost up to 2,500 yards. He's still got a couple games go. Man, impressive. Anyways, I knew this would happen for these guys, but it's good to see it like come to fruition because I was expecting this to happen. They lose to Weber State, lose to us, lose to South Dakota State, lose to Cal, start the year off from 1-5, and now they're just on a tear. But that tier includes wins over Northern Arizona, Northern Colorado, Cal Poly, and now Idaho State. So some caveat right there, right? Yeah. So, presuming Idaho State. All right.
In the last game, I guess we got 2 more games to go here. Idaho, Sacramento State. That was kind of a crazy game. I watched parts of it and some highlights afterwards. I mean, Idaho came roaring back there in the fourth quarter. They were down by what was the score at some point? I think it was 24-7, or was it all the way to 24-7 at one point?
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, 24-7, and then Idaho came back and actually took the lead at one point, 28-24, and it took like a fourth down conversion or something. I don't know. Asher O'Hara had to like do a goal line dive with his reaching over across the goal line to take the lead there at the very end, and Sac State had to hold on at the very end there against Idaho. Had a chance with the ball back. So huge win for Sac State. Idaho looking like they were going to get outclassed, but made a game of it because Giovanni McCoy is a gamer, and I wouldn't count that guy out. He looks like he's going to be a problem in the Big Sky for years. But Sac State able to get the win and move to 8-0 this year, undefeated against everybody, including their FBS game. Sac State still looking like the team to beat, even though they've been squeaking out wins at home. They're doing it. They're winning. That's all that really matters on the stat sheet.
So Jake Dunaway committed 2 interceptions, or threw 2 interceptions in back-to-back plays. Like first play of the drive, interception. Idaho goes down and scores. Next one.
That'll do it.
First play, interception. Idaho goes down and scores. So basically, Idaho had 14 unanswered points. And then actually had 21 unanswered points before that because they had put up 7. And so Idaho just caught like lightning in a bottle in this game late because of that. Just all the momentum went to Idaho. And then they put Asher O'Hara in as a steady hand at the end, and he had pretty much the game-winning drive for them. I think here's about yourself where you're throwing Sac State's 2-quarterback system is better than Montana State's 2-quarterback system.
I'd sell that. I think the Bobcats are better. Yeah. Because both our guys can throw. Asher O'Hara can't really throw the ball.
He's a senior. I think Jake's a senior as well.
And I think neither one of them are as good at running the ball. Dunaway's probably a better thrower than all of them. But if you're talking about, I mean, I'm biased, I think, on this one, but I would take the combination of Malott and Chambers over Dunaway and O'Hara. Because they're just much more likely to house it, to score from anywhere on the field.
They have Troy Taylor, who runs an amazing offense over there. And then Cameron Scatabo is probably the best running back in the Big Sky this year. He's unreal. The way that guy runs is fantastic to watch. It's
amazing. He is like a bigger Danny Woodhead. And I hate to say that as a Bobcat fan. It's just bringing back the pain. If you're an old enough Bobcat fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about, the Danny Woodhead game. But yeah, he runs possessed. And what did he have in this game? He had 15 or 17 carries for, oh man, I lost my stat sheet.
134.
Yeah, 134 more yards, which puts him first place at 123 yards per game in the Big Sky Conference, ahead of only Ulonzo Gilliam. I feel like the quarterbacks aren't really standing out this year in terms of compiling stats. I'm almost wondering if the offensive MVP race is going to be between Cameron Scatabo and Ulonzo Gilliam.
It might as well be. Those guys deserve it.
Gilliam was the preseason offensive player of the year, I believe, if I remember correctly. But I mean,
one thing about Gilliam that I like a little bit better than Scatabo is Gilliam catches the ball as well as runs the ball. And Scatabo, I haven't seen him as much as that dual threat running back.
Yeah, I could see that. But that might be the only thing that Gilliam has over Scatabo,
yeah.
Whatever. It's Halloween, Scatabo. Dad joke. Sorry, everybody.
Okay, let's get into the final game. Weber State, Montana. The bill of last week. Weber State pulls out the win 24-21 over in Ogden, putting the Grizz on a 3-game skid. Chris Brown, man, let's talk Grizzly football right now.
I don't think Chris Brown is as bad as Grizz fans say he is.
Serious?
They're roasting that guy. He throws a decent ball. He's got no help, I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah.
No one's making plays for him. Like, I keep hearing Grizz fans and Grizz media pump up their wide receivers, and Cole Grossman and Mitch Roberts are good, but they're good when they have, like, I don't know. They're not guys that are getting open and helping out their quarterback. They're guys who excel with a good quarterback throwing them the ball. I don't know. Chris Brown ain't it. Don't get me wrong. Like, Chris Brown's not the guy moving forward, but he's just getting roasted, and I just don't think he's quite that bad. Weber State's defense is really good. The Bobcats somehow, some way shredded them, but no one else has shredded them at all. But I mean, 115 yards or whatever of total offense for the Grizz, 72 yards through the air from Chris Brown. That's ugly, man. That is ugly.
It really is, dude. It's bad. The critique on the Grizzlies I have is they have no offensive identity. Like, tell me one thing they do well on offense. I couldn't tell you. And if they find something, they go away from it, which is the weirdest thing. So they put Junior Bergen back there running the Wildcat. A couple plays I saw he was doing pretty good. I was like, my thought was, why don't they just make him the next Tommy Millott? He was a quarterback in high school over at, was he from Billings?
Yeah, Billings West or something. I don't remember.
Yeah. No, you'd still go with Chris Brown. So I don't know, man. 10 for 17 for completions with 72 yards, 114 yards total. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible, especially when you basically split the difference on time of possession and rushing attempts. They had 38 rushing attempts. They averaged 1.1 yards per rush.
Well,
the Grizzlies' offense is just, it's going to hold them back until they figure it out. But the thing is, I don't think they're willing to change what they're trying to do. And what they're trying to do is the mantra of the Grizzlies. They tried to out tough you, out hustle you, out whatever you, but they're not changing. They're not adapting. It's just weird to watch them.
No.
So what happens when that doesn't work?
No,
well, they lose.
They do lose. Yeah, they get punched in the mouth. Like, they're used to doing the punching, and then when they get counter punched, they kind of don't know what to do anymore.
All right,
but I think the Grizz,
they're gonna
the staff, real quick here on Chris Brown. The staff hasn't done Chris Brown any favors. I'm looking at the stat sheet. 12 rushes. I don't know if they were all planned rushes, but Chris Brown should not be rushing the ball 12 times in any football game. He is not a scrambler. I saw him doing some RPO stuff and keeping the ball. I'm like, what are you doing, man? I think they just kind of saw what the Cats did successfully, and they're like, we got Chris Brown. I bet he could probably do some of that stuff. No, he can't. Like, you got to work with what Chris Brown can do. That's part of being a good coaching staff, and what I appreciate so much about Taylor Housewright is he can come up with a game plan to suit the strength of the personnel that he has available for that game. The Grizz cannot. It's constantly trying to, like, fit a, square peg in a round hole. That's all it is. It feels just forced and awkward, and it was ugly football game. And yet here the Grizz almost came back and won this game.
Yeah. Well, Malik Flowers had 100-yard.
Yeah, but that's not abnormal for them, though. The special teams for the Grizz continue to make plays and keep them in football games. I don't think they need their offense to do a whole lot. If they can have a guy like Lucas Johnson who's serviceable, that's why they're a top 10 team. If they don't have a guy who can be serviceable at quarterback, they're barely a top 25 team.
They need a better offense. Absolutely need a better offense. Like, I kind of disagree with you. Like, if they're going to make any kind of noise in the playoffs, win a national championship, they're not doing it with that offense. They might be able to do it with that defense, but not with that offense. And so that's kind of where they're at. Their defense is still an elite defense, although I do see some chinks in the armor in the defense. I feel like teams are starting to figure them out, either that or they're getting just kind of tired. I'm not sure what it is, but that max effort, 80% blitz, 3x3 defense that they run, pressure from all different angles. It's fun to watch, but it doesn't seem as impenetrable as I've seen in the last couple of weeks. What Weber put up on them on rushing?
I clicked off of it because I wanted to do a deep dive on Lucas Johnson, for crying out loud. Why are we talking so much about the Grizz? Let's see where the stats go.
192 yards of rushing
Yeah.
on the Grizz. Almost 200, Bill.
But it's only 3.8 yards per rush, though, which is not that great.
Yeah. I mean, they had a long rush. They had a long touchdown. One of those ones, it was like probably 42 yards. So, but still, that's becoming a little bit of a norm that I'm starting to see. I don't know.
Yep. No,
The Grizz have some soul searching to do, but they're still a dangerous team. You know, we're going to talk about the Grizzlies coming up in the next couple of weeks because we're coming up on the Cat Grizz. A very dangerous team, a hungry team. We'll see what happens. They got 2 home games against 2 weak opponents, so they'll likely be coming into Cat Grizz on a little bit of momentum. Some kind of storyline we'll talk about for sure.
Interesting intersection for Cat Grizz this year. The Cats will be coming off of 2 lesser opponents, quote unquote, as road games, and they'll be coming back home. And then the Grizz will be coming off 2 opponents at home and then going on the road for Cat Grizz. So it'll be an interesting, there could be a couple of freight trains colliding in Bozeman at the end of the year.
All right.
Also, still not sad to see the Grizz lose 3 games in a row.
No. Let's make it 4, Cal Poly.
Come on,
let's go,
Mustangs.
Bo Baldwin.
All right, Bull Baldwin, get it done, buddy. Win a Big Sky game, please. Well, they beat somebody, didn't they?
Man. No, well, they beat someone, but it was like first game.
Oh, just San Diego.
Or something
Okay,
like that.
never mind. I thought they had a conference win, but
Just
nope.
San Diego.
Nope, just the Toreros.
Toreros.
All right, 37 minutes
hey.
in, and we haven't even hit on the Coolies.
Yeah, let's talk Golden Coolies. We'll house this. Let's talk about the Grizzlies.
All right, so we pretty much got a kind of a random smattering of questions. I have not organized them into any discernible order. Do we just want to start picking them out at random and then going, or do you want to go down the list in order that I have it in the document?
Yes.
Actually, the first one's kind of a good question because it kind of piggybacks off the conference discussion. Or no, he already, dang it. We were going to do this one last week, so this is no longer relevant. Sac State and Idaho play each other this weekend. Which one should we want to win? Well, doesn't matter now. It would have made probably more sense for Idaho to win that game to give Sac State a loss, but doesn't matter now. Good question. That was an email from Joe Bobcat. Thanks for the question. Sorry we didn't get to it while it was relevant. We let that one expire. Our bad.
All right, let's go down to our friend Roger Fisher. So every week I worry that someone will exploit our defensive problems and beat us. Every week except against OSU, we seem to be doing enough to win. Is this defense running its way it's intended? Why do we keep winning despite major defensive errors? Will this catch up to us eventually?
Yes. I think it will catch up to eventually. Like in some ways we've been fortunate to win some of the games, or at least keep teams off the board more than they could have otherwise. I mean, dating back all the way to the McNeese State game, I think they dropped a slant pass over the middle. Like I feel like teams have been dropping wide open slant passes against the Bobcats multiple times throughout the year. Like that's not going to happen all year. That luck is going to run out. I feel like a lot of incompletions are completely unforced incompletions against the Bobcats. So I think that...
Well, we do get Ryland Ort back.
We do.
This week.
That's going to be huge. I don't know how much he's going to factor into game one, shaking some rust off and all that stuff, but I think that's going to be a big help, but I don't expect it to magically fix our woes. But it should help a lot, at least in limiting big plays, because Ort's a better tackler and maybe sees the field a little bit better, but I'm not sure he's going to do a whole lot when Simeon Woodard's getting beat on a slant over the middle. I'm not sure what Ryland Ort's going to do to help that situation.
It's a good point. I think the thing that makes our defensive woes go away is how elite our offense is this year. Second in the Big Sky in points per game. We're rolling, straight rolling. Montana State can. Roger. Here's another thing to think about, man. I think our defensive line is quietly getting markedly better. I started looking at the emergence of a guy like Kenneth Iden, seeing Schmidt and Valdez figure out their spots a little bit better. It means one thing just to get in the backfield, but sometimes you don't need to do that. There's a little bit of nuance back there that you kind of have to play that dance where rushing and containing your gap. Sometimes you get too far back and then, break contain forward. But I think like guys like Brody Grebe learning his role a little better, and the onset of Kenneth Iden coming onto the scene, that's big time news, man. So the guys up front, one thing that Montana State's done really well, I thought this year, Thorny, and I want your opinion on this, is we have been getting pressure with 4. We're not a big rushing team. It's a big blitzing team. Your thoughts on that?
I think they have slowly been getting better. I agree with you, and I do believe they're getting more pressure, but it's not really leading to sacks necessarily. But QB hurries are not a stat that the Big Sky Conference keeps. I wish it was, but I do believe they are getting better. We did struggle against Weber State in some ways. Now, we had more sacks than I think they'd given up all year, perhaps. But Barron had plenty of time to sit back there and pick us apart throughout the game. So it just kind of depends. Like some games, it seems like it's getting better, and then other games, it seems like it's a step back. Overall, I think the defense is inching forward, and they had a whole bye week to kind of do some self-scouting and figure out what exactly is going on. There's not always time to do that in the middle of game planning week to week for your next opponent. Hopefully, with Ryan Norton coming back and some self-scouting and the bye week to kind of sort some things out, we'll see an improvement there. But yeah, I do think that we're getting a little bit more pressure with the front 4, so that has been helpful.
Okay, let's move on. Hey, Roger, thanks for the question. That was a really good one, buddy. Because the defense is something that is, high alert for all Bobcat fans. All right, moving on. Montana GCG 1979 asks, how is the R&R confidence in Tommy as QB1 right now?
It's high. It's high for me.
Yeah. Coach Vegan talked about him today. Somebody asked a question in his presser, and Coach Vegan talked about the passing game slowing down for him. His running ability is becoming better, knowing when to run, where to hit the runs. Everything about Tommy Malot's getting better, according to Coach Vegan right now, the way he operates as our quarterback. He played awesome against Weber. I was worried. We talked about that. I'm pretty high on Tommy again. So
he's looked
pretty
better.
Wishy-washy.
Yeah. He looked better than he did in the beginning of the season. And he never looked bad by any stretch, but I think we were all just kind of waiting to see, like, was that playoff run an anomaly, or is that really kind of what Malott can do? And if he can, when can he get back to it? I kind of felt like that Weber State game was the first time I felt like there it is. There is the Tommy Malott that we all saw in the playoffs last year that we hoped would come back this year. He finally got some big runs going in his way. Like that's what I was been waiting to see. And I think people are kind of confusing the fact that we really wanted Sean Chambers to take the reins as some sort of slight on Tommy Malott. And that's never what it was. We just liked the way Sean Chambers was playing, and we didn't want to mess with it, I think, more than anything. But I'm very confident in Tommy Malott. At this point, he's proven that he is still very capable, if not an all-conference caliber type guy running the ship right now. So it's a great situation to be in, where we have 2 good quality quarterbacks that I'm confident can win football games against quality opponents.
Gotta love that, the fact that he has all that experience, and that is really what it comes down to. That's why he's getting better. The volume of snaps you've seen. All right. Good question.
That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah, because I know that, we've kind of talked a little bit on and off about how we feel about the quarterback situation, but I think Tommy put a big emphasis on his performance with Weber.
Okay. Our buddy on Instagram, Adam Hegland, asked us, with all the transfers from the spring, who's done the best at their new spot and has their performance shown the depth that MSU has internally?
Let's list off the transfers. We got Ravi Alston, Reddy Short, Clevan Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Well, Drew Polidor.
I'm just trying to think of starters off the top of my head, main contributors at the moment. I think everyone else was already here, right? I mean, Sean Chambers. That's the one. I mean, yeah, it's got to be Sean Chambers then. That's the easy answer now that we've worked through it there. And yeah, I think it has shown the depth because Reddy Short was splitting time. I don't know. I don't know how to answer the depth portion of it, I guess. But I think Sean Chambers is easily the who's done the best.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Is Omar Agabedian, is he a transfer?
I guess he would technically be a transfer because he's from like Air Force Prep or whatever. Yeah. I've never fully understood what prep schools are, but was not high school, but he was not college. So whatever that means, but he'd be someone who's surprised. I think I would say he looks pretty darn good in his Weber State start, but he's been playing well all year. Like him and Colsane have been, rotating quite a bit this year, and I think that's really what helped him shine against Weber State because he had been playing so much already. So yeah, I would say he would be in the conversation for someone who's shown depth and ability as a transfer.
All right, why don't you take the next one?
Scott Smith on Twitter asks us, with the Bobcats' success through injuries this season, are there any currently injured or otherwise unavailable players that we need back in order to get back to Frisco? Emphasis on need. Well, we got Rylan Ort back this week. That's going to be the big one. I guess the question really is, can we get to Frisco without Isaiah Afonso?
Yeah, I think that's what he was hinting at that question.
It's kind of the big one. What are your thoughts? Can the Bobcats make it to Frisco without the All-American Afonso?
Does Afonso make our second best offense that much better? Would be a better question.
It's kind of the hard part, right? Like, how much better can we run the ball? How many more yards can we get?
And another thing to think about, I always thought that when we were running Afonso, teams were just teaming on him. Or queuing in on him is what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
And he was so good at still running the ball. But like last year, look at the Cat Grizz. When Afonso's in the backfield, where are they going, right? So it's a good question, Scott. I do think we need guys like Colsane, who's available this week. Rylan Ort is another one. Just like key guys that are not necessarily maybe your like all conference type of guys, but just like guys who are playing big time roles and big time spots for us. I think just collectively, we just need to be healthy. We need to hit a hot streak in the playoffs. And just, I think for us to get back to Frisco, we need to maintain our offensive productivity, keep channeling in Chambers and Malott, seeing how that works out. And our defense needs to take the next step. We need to be able to get more pressure with our front four and cover in the back end a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like the lack of a running ability will be low on the list of reasons the Bobcats won't make it to Frisco. Although I do think Afonso would be a great complementary piece to the offense because we're doing so good on the outside zone read stuff that with the offensive line, who may not be as good blocking on the interior, Isaiah Afonso doesn't need interior blocking. So that would be the complementary piece because he can just plow up the middle and get his own yards. He's like the guy in basketball who can get his own shot. That's what Afonso can do. He can make his own holes. He will find whatever little tiny hole is there and plow through it. And if he's not clean through it, he'll plow and drag the pile 5 yards forward. And I think he'd be such a complementary piece to all the skill and the speed that we have attacking the edges right now. So that he would be a huge addition. Another guy that just jumps to my mind, though, and I haven't heard him talked about very much. He was day one starter last year, Kyle Rigg, along the defensive line. Our defensive line depth has been okay, but if we had a guy like Kyle Rigg on that second unit, I think that would be hugely beneficial for a playoff run to Frisco.
Yeah. Jahari Martin might be coming back. Well, 3 weeks would be best case scenario. I don't know. What do you think, Scott? Do you think we can get back to Frisco? Thorny, do you think we could get back to Frisco?
I do. I don't think I thought that at the beginning of the year. Even though I predicted us to go 9-2, I still felt like that was more a product of kind of how the schedule laid itself out than the fact that the Cats were like a national championship caliber team. But at this point, I'm feeling pretty damn good about that. I'm loving what I'm seeing this year, man. Like the defense, I've kind of learned to accept the defense may not be as good, but our point differential is like the best in the Big Sky. Like we're winning by the most amount of points against teams. So yeah, you're giving them more points, but we're scoring way more points. So is the lack of defense what's going to hold us back? I'm not sure it is.
That won't be beat mentality Kyle Cotta talked about.
Love it.
Hey, piggyback on that question, Brooke says on Twitter, at this point, is there any reason for Afonso not to take the injury red shirt? I'm kind of with you, Brooke. I think he should, but I don't think they are. I think the plan is they're going to play him.
I don't think, if I was a betting man, I don't think Afonso wants to come back to Montana State next year. And that's
I disagree with that.
I mean, he's graduated, man. Like, not everybody wants to spend 6 years in college. Like, if he does want to play next year, absolutely. I think you just save him.
Year 5 for him.
The point is he's graduated. So, I mean, not everyone wants to hang around. If he does, great. For some reason, I've just got a feeling that he's been beat up. He's had a lot of injury in his career. I think he might just want to call it done. I'm not necessarily high on the Afonso NFL train as some guys are on Bobcat Nation. I'm not sure he's a NFL guy. I just don't think he has that speed that you need in the NFL. So I'm not sure he's going to save his body to try out in the NFL. Maybe he will, but I mean, then
so you're saying like he basically doesn't have the desire to come back and play football one more year.
Potentially, yeah.
Ah, man, I like so disagree with that. Like 100% disagree with that.
So do you think that he'd want to play 5 games and call it a career?
I'm not sure. So that's what I'm thinking. He's going to take. It's weird. I don't know. I've never talked to the man. It's
it's all speculation on my part.
Yeah, it is. So what do? Do you play him on the 4th game? So if you map out Frisco and go 4 games back, is that when you start playing him?
You play him at Cat Grizz. You see who your first round opponent is. If it's a team you're feeling pretty good about that you can beat with the guys that you got not named as Isaiah Afonso, you hold him out that game, and then he's got 3 more games, aka all the way to Frisco, and then you redshirt him anyway. Yeah. Imagine a guy running for like 220 yards in the national championship game, but he was redshirting.
Jeez, I don't know. Whatever he does, I hope it's whatever is best for him.
Yeah,
like
I mean that's the end of it. Yeah.
All right, that's good discussion on Afonso, but I'm looking at the time, we're running into about an hour right here, and we got a ton of Golden Coolie questions. We haven't even touched NAU. Thorny, I think we leave the back half of these Golden Coolie questions for our second episode. I think that would be good discussion, especially when we are not recapping a game. That will give us a lot to talk about, plus NAU, which means we have to pick a Golden Coolie winner for tonight. What do you think?
Sounds good. I vote for our buddy Roger Fisher with the dapper Twitter profile picture.
He does have a nice coiffed beard. A little bit better than yours, bro.
Yeah, so I was just going to say it's almost as good as mine. But congratulations, Roger.
Roger!
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
My kids are sleeping, so I can't clap too loud. I shouldn't clap so loud.
All
But
right.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
And I want to clarify, people have told us plenty of times now when we say that we want to keep things under an hour, people are like, don't let that time format hold you back. It's 10:30 p.m. people. It's not so much that it's an hour. It's the fact that it's 10:30. We could go on and on if this was like 8 p.m., but it's not 8 p.m. It's 10:30 at night. And we both got to work tomorrow. So that is a good spot to quit, I suppose. Anything else you want to say here before I do our little fancy outro?
I'm excited it's game week again. I really missed Montana State football last week. I know you said just grab a bucket of popcorn and saddle up, but at Sunday, I was like, oh man, you don't get to talk about football. Like it was just a hole in my heart.
I wasn't so much sad on Saturday not watching Bobcat football because I did enjoy watching all the other games. But you're right about Sunday. I'm like, okay, now I think I'm about ready for some Bobcat football because all the other recaps and stuff going on. Like I want to be recapping the Bobcats right now. I feel like a bye week's about perfect, give you a little bit of break, but then you kind of start chomping at the bit again. So we'll come back in later this week. We'll do an NAU preview. We'll answer the rest of the Golden Coolie questions we have. And I think we'll talk some playoff scenarios. I mean, there's a whole lot to talk about in this week that isn't related to a game the Bobcats had. So I think that's kind of what we'll do for the next episode. Thanks everyone for listening. I keep saying that. Every time I say that, it doesn't make any sense. Thanks everyone for listening to the Bobcats. Okay, I'm crashing harder. Thanks everyone for listening to the R&R Catcast. Thanks to Manhattan Bank for being our dank sponsor. You can find us on the web at rrcatcast.com. Shoot us an email, rrcatcast@gmail.com. Keep those Golden Coolie questions coming. You'll have a couple days to get us some more. For the next batch of them, we'll answer on the next episode. And fully, let's get out of here, man, with a happy, spooktacular Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.